sometimes you can't go home again, except if your home is on warp pylons, I guess. I don't know. I don't know quite where I was going with that metaphor to open the show, but this is V'ger Please, a heinous trip at Warp 5, and my name is Joseph.
And instead of being with my family, I'm doing cooler stuff with you. I'm your co-host, Peter.
Oh, dark.
Yeah.
Before we can get on with it so you can be reunited with your family, Peter, we have to talk about Jack, because we haven't yet.
Yeah.
And it's time to talk about what Jack brought into the world. If you missed it, if you're listening to V'ger Please, one of our favorite fans is Dr. Jack. And Dr. Jack was someone that I was suggesting to Peter could serve as our official ombudsman, arbiter, chadish, whatever you want to call it. Because, you know, we've shown a need for someone to arbitrate our disputes between each other, perhaps, enforce punishment on an objective basis. And you rejected this on the basis of a mistake that he made in regards to Enterprise shuttlecraft.
I objected to him being appointed as a judiciary entity over us because we're petty podcasters and the gods of our own domain.
I mean, there's that too, which I believe Jack was acknowledging in his 28-minute video response. That was, frankly, pure art.
It was good. It was one for the books for sure.
I mean, Jack created our Choose Your Own Adventure game regarding the coworker murder simulator 2349. So clearly he has a pedigree.
Why is that not on Steam yet?
Fucking true story.
Why is that not a mobile game?
And, you know, he responded to your demand that he punish himself and then did so via video, but spent 28 minutes showing why he was right the entire time and why you, in fact, were wrong. We got to have an official response on the record, Peter. Like, we have to have official response on the record. I went above you, to be honest. I went above you. I declared him our chadish. I declared her our arbiter. Executive privilege on the fact that I control the social media group.
No.
And you owe a response here.
Jack, you made a rookie mistake. I'm not saying you're wrong, but I'm also saying I'm not wrong. Because what you've done is you've gone back and you've looked at documentation that shows what you think to be a docking pylon that is able to extend and anchor the ship and not, in fact, an escape hatch or whatever. And you start going into this footage where you're trying to show CGI of this and that happening and bringing physics into it. And you're using this out of a TV show that told us we can't use phasers at warp and then uses phasers at warp all the time. The fucking people making these shows don't know how this shit works. The VFX people don't know how this shit works. All right? I'm not saying you're wrong. Maybe that's not a docking hatch, but the thing is you can't tell me the 100% that these guys don't know that either. I think the closest we can get to any sort of official documentation on this is probably the fucking Eagle Moss action figures. And I was going to buy the shuttle pod just to commemorate this. But Eagle Moss is out of business. That's what happens when you get in bed with Star Trek merchandise in the year 2022. You die on your sword. So, I don't know. Maybe you're right. Maybe I'm right. Who knows? Directors don't know. Bram Braga doesn't know. Nobody knows this. It's a Fugazi. It's Enterprise. There's a reason why nobody likes this shit. Great video though.
Yeah, great video. If you haven't seen it, it's on the Facebook group and on the Discord, and you should help yourself to the best content created about V'ger Please, I guess we'll say. And thank again Jack, our new chadish, for his contribution, and we look forward to you continuing to serve as the arbiter in our discussions. Speaking of those discussions, what are we reviewing this week, Peter?
We're getting into Season 2, Episode 20. See, I've been calling it Season 2. It's not Season Poo for a while. Written by Andre Baramis, directed by James A. Conter, and universe date is 2153.
And what is the name of the episode?
Horizon, which would just so happen to be the name of the, Earth Cargo EG what?
It's ECS, Earth Cargo Ship Horizon.
Earth Cargo Authority, that's right.
Yeah, and it's part of the Earth Cargo Authority.
So we have taken arguably one of the lowest points of the cast, I'm sorry, of the crew. And that would be, of course, a brutal neck and neck competition between Reed and Mayweather. And this is the first dedicated Mayweather episode we've had since, God, when?
The last time they ran into the freaking
Space
space
Trucker?
truckers? Was there an episode this season where Mayweather was the main character? Let's run through it real fast. Season 2. Shockwave, no. Carbon Creek, no. Minefield, no. Dead Stop, he was a focal point, but not the main character. Night and Sickbay, no. Marauders, no. The Seventh, no.
He was the MVP of the 7th, but not
It
the
was,
focus.
but not the focus. The Communicator, no. Singularity, no. Vanishing Point, no. Precious Cargo, no. Catwalk, again, an important part, but not the focus. Dawn, Stigma, Ceasefire, all knows. Future Tense, Con Aramar, The Crossing, all knows. Judgment, no.
I don't think I can tell you any other character in Star Trek as neglected as this guy.
Yeah,
And it's interesting.
Episode 20 of season 2. This is the first time he is the primary character. Now, it's hard to say that's the wrong decision, though.
You go back to season 1, season 2 Neelix, which was fucking rancid. That character sucked ass.
Out loud.
And he was still getting, one every 4 episodes thrown to him where he was a focal point. And that was a bigger ensemble crew too, wasn't it?
I think so, yeah.
Is Mayweather worse than Neelix? I mean, even if you factor in the stiff acting you get out of this guy.
Even at his worst, Neelix was better than Mayweather. I mean, there were a couple real low points, but like greasy, crappy Neelix was still, I think, more compelling to me.
Greasy, crappy Neelix was great. Petty, petulant, don't talk to my girlfriend, Tom Paris. Love triangle Neelix was really rancid.
I will say this. I think I may start putting Mayweather ahead of Reed in my estimation. But Mayweather is still, both of them are below the season 1, season 2 Neelix, in my opinion. And maybe that's because I enjoyed where Neelix went so much. I'm just providing it this much more sympathy. Like, yeah, season 1, season 2 Neelix was rough, but it gave us season 7 Neelix. It gave us Tom and Neelix running a caper to reclaim their street cred. Neelix,
what a good episode.
Well, it was good because you didn't see that the show was self-aware that their criminal element had become soft and they needed to reassert themselves. It like snuck up on you that that's what the plot was going to be.
That was Live Fast and Prosper. That whole thing was just amazing. So anyways, let's go back to this substantially worse series or seasons.
True.
And despite the fact that I've shit on Mayweather a lot, as we just pointed out, apparently we weren't the only ones paying attention. Whereas we get to season 2, episode 20 before this guy is back in the focus, and I gotta say, man, like I didn't mind him in this episode.
This is the best they've gotten out of him by far.
Oh, on a focus episode, sure, I would still say him in the 7th. Where this guy's got some hustle and, some strong offensive lineman abilities.
Oh, I mean, the fact that in the back half of season 2, they figured out that you should have him be the guy like throwing flying body tackles and getting into phaser fights.
I mean, your security guy certainly can't fucking carry a scene doing that. That's why he's doing all the Will Wheaton, Wesley Crusher science Olympiad stuff. This was a cool episode. I'm not going to call it great, but this I'm going to put squarely into good, and especially for season 2. Whatever shortcomings I think the actor Mayweather may have in some stiff responses or whatever, it's a interesting enough story. The supporting guest actors are good. And I feel like this is the first time that I've really seen this story specifically out of Star Trek. And in Burma era especially, there's so many retread episodes that you just have to build in a concession after hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of episodes across 3 or 4 different full 7 season TV shows. You're going to have some retread, and this is the first time that, like, hey, I was born on a space truck and I left my family. The rest of the world doesn't really like Starfleet, and I kind of have to catch shit about that.
It's a very unique story that this show positioned itself to tell, and I don't think anything is ever going to make Travis Mayweather our favorite character here. He is played by a tragically under talented actor, but I will say he tried real hard in this episode to give the best performance he could give. That's the way I would describe it. There
Maybe part of
was
it too was that the guest talent they brought in wasn't bad, but they weren't like fucking amazing to the point where they're embarrassing him in scenes. Like, it all
yeah,
seemed within the same scope.
Anthony Montgomery got outacted by the rando LA theater guys that were in the last Space Trucker one, and that was a big focal point for us. And in this one, it was a bit more complimentary. And the family dynamic probably helped a lot in that everyone kind of understood where they were supposed to stand with each other. I particularly like the mom
Yes.
and the way they positioned her. Like, they never showed her really doing a whole lot that was like sci-fi. If you noticed throughout the
Mm-hmm.
whole episode, she's supposed to be
Not
the
a
chief
single
engineer.
line of technobabble, I don't
There
think.
was like, oh, I have to align a plasma coupling. It was real easy
Yeah.
technobabble.
Yeah.
She was clearly there to be the mom, and so they just focused super hard on that because she was good at that, and relating as much of it as possible to like normal, not sci-fi dialogue, and the tension with his brother and all of that helped this episode tremendously. I think is what lifted it from something that could have been middling and ultimately not very good to something that clicked and worked and told its story effectively and made the best use of an actor who maybe doesn't have the strong dramatic chops you'd prefer, but was able to muster a acceptable performance that met what he was asked to do.
The drama's not there, but I think he can bring the heartfelt.
Yeah, he tries, dude. Like, you compare this to Harry Kim, right? Like, Garrett Wang, you just like you kind of were contemptful of him because he was so full of himself, and it kind of came through his performance. This guy, he's earnest, man. He's trying his best. He is living his best life, and he's out there with a big grin on his face, trying to make this stuff happen. And he's not good enough, but it's like he's like a golden retriever. You're like, oh, buddy, you tried. There's like, oh, I just want to rub your head. Like, good job, pal. You did your best.
The episode starts off in a great place, and that's with Mayweather upside down on the ceiling in a slow, deliberate camera pan to come around and focus on him upside down. My wife's in the room with me, and instantly she's like, what is going on with this? Is this room a big deal? Why are they spending all this time on that? And I'm like, yes, this is a big deal. This is a whole fucking thing. How rare. I could have never said that on Voyager, right? There was no, hey, here's a cool thing that happened once and it's gone forever, unless it's goddamn Fairhaven, this fucking stupid thing. Then we're going to bring that out and play with it all the time. Or, Janeway's bodice ripper that was trash until it started getting good, and then they fucking dumped that too. So yeah, I was like, wow, they're bringing the sweet spot back, and that's I don't know what deck it is, but there's a point in the ship where gravity gets weird and you can get the 0G moment.
Yeah, it was something about the grav plating. It was really the intro to Travis as like a veteran space person, that showed that he knew things that the senior officers didn't understand about living on a spaceship because that's what he'd done his whole life. And this is the first time we've seen it since the premiere. But they make good use of it a couple times. And you just see him chilling out there. It's like his happy place. He's reading the book and got a little bottle of water, and he gets called to the bridge, but it just demonstrates like this is going to be a focus episode for him. We're going to show him, and this is still a thing. And we cut back to the action where the mission for Enterprise is actually to go back. Which I'm glad that they structured the episode this way because they had to explain how they would encounter the horizon, right? Well, if they're out exploring the galaxy, they're not going to run into it because the horizon is traveling known space lanes. So you have to go back 30 light years because there's some really interesting random stuff is happening with these planets that are going to fall into a weird orbit. And it's causes all this gravitational pull. It's going to create these geological events. It's very space sciencey. And we want you to go record it. And they agree to do so. And they set up the B plot here, which is going to be more about movie night. We'll get to that later. But this going back enables the plot of, oh, we're going to be near where my parents' ship is. I haven't seen them in years. Captain, would it be okay for you to just drop me off and then come get me after you're done with the mission, since all you're going to do is be watching fireworks? And Archer says, yeah, of course.
Archer's like, listen, I read the script. Normally under the prospect of we're going to go and do a orbit over a volcanic planet that is spraying lava out into the space, like I would think maybe we're going to get caught in some decaying orbit and maybe, flame whipped or something and really be up shit's creek. But I looked at this script. This is a safe one. We're going to be dragging DePaul to the movie. So yeah, you go reconnect with your family. It's a good opener. Already, I don't know what it is about the episode, but I'm not hating the prospect of Mayweather. And I think it's because I know this is going to be a boomer specific episode. Boomers, of course, being humans that live in space outside of Starfleet. And really, this is the best opportunity for us to examine the economy and kind of the civilian life of Earth that you're certainly not going to get through the eyes of Starfleet.
Unfortunately for Travis, he thinks his father's ill, but that he was on the mend. What he finds out is that unfortunately his father has died, and in fact died 6 weeks previously, and the message did not get to him. Which, that the devastation of learning, as far as you're concerned, quite suddenly that when your parents has died and it was over a month ago and you just never knew. They tried to do a scene for that where he's up in his his happy space, isolating himself, having received the news, and Archer has to go and try and counsel him.
Talk about an HR grievance that it's time to file. Like, Captain, instead of dropping me off at my parents' ship, can we just go back to Earth so I can beat the fuck out of whatever Starfleet mailman lost the message where me, Mayweather, the helm officer for the most biggest fucking deal Starfleet ship ever. Like, we're all basically goddamn heroes. You're recording, video promos for kids to watch in elementary school, that they couldn't take the message about my dad dying and like beeline that to me.
You would think that would be a priority, right? Like, oh, one of the officers on our mainline exploratory vessels, father has died. We should definitely let him know that happened and not sit on it for 6 weeks. And we know that Travis can hand out a beating. So whoever the fuck that guy is back on Earth, he needs to be counting his blessings. That he is too far. There's like that fist can't go the 100 extra light years and plant one on him.
It's a real gut punch moment, and that's not something you expect to see out of a Star Trek, right? Like, that was a real happy setup.
It was.
We expect that he's going to have some reconciling to do with his dad, that his family's not happy, that he went Starfleet. So you've already subverted expectations because you're not going to get that, oh, son, I'm proud of you after all moment, at least from the dad's lips. While Archer's up there trying to like console Mayweather, it comes up that, or it gets pointed out to the audience, like, I don't think my dad was very happy with me. He had been grooming me my entire life to take over for him, because apparently there's like this, I don't know how the Earth Cargo Authority works, but there must be some sort of a medieval or feudal system there where you're at the lands of your father.
Primogeniture is the way that they handle succession.
And I'm gonna love talking about this ship, the Horizon, and like the community there. But yeah, the notion that like that's my boss's kid. I'm gonna be working for him one day, even though this isn't a privately owned vessel, and who knows what the politics is there. But Archer's like, you know, I was almost like you. I love the idea that Archer heavily contemplated going into service of the Earth Cargo Authority prior to Starfleet being chartered. I like when Mayweather go to like press him on that. He's like, well, that's a story from another time. And I'm like, well, that's the fucking story I want to hear. And I hope that's a story you never tell me, because I'm sure whatever's in my head is better than whatever fucking
Yeah, Braga can only make it worse, right? Like whatever's in your mind is going to be better.
sad but true. And then he also says, well, listen, I know for a fact your dad was proud of you. Um, there were a couple of Helm officers that I was considering. I reached out to their former XOs, which was your dad in your case, and he replied back with only one sentence. He's the best wheel and rudder man I've ever seen, and if you don't pick him, you're an idiot.
That classic gruff dad thing. And I think the best line that Anthony Montgomery has ever laid down on the show so far is that plaintive look on his face. It's like, I just wish you would have told me that. Like that's a very relatable moment he's going through, where anyone who's ever had a father in their life that has difficulty sharing their emotions with them, it can be a lot to try and process, particularly in their passing. So that was well executed. I like that scene. I like what the role Archer tried to play there as like a father-like figure.
This is hot on the heels of Archer in Ceasefire. Ceasefire has been the best Archer we've seen so far. This Archer is right up there with him. That Scott Bakula knows how to play this guy. He plays him well, and this ties into comments that Archer made previously when he was talking with Reed. I want to say in Minefield about, I used to have ball buster commanding officers that they wanted to be excluded from the crew or whatever, and I knew, or at least I was under the impression this was going to be 7 seasons, a 7-year mission. We needed to be a family, and I needed to approach my crew differently. This is a great expression of that type of leadership style that Archer is looking to impart on his crew. Not a iota of petulance to be found here.
With that, Trip sees him off. He gives him a photo album to give his mom, because Trip understands what moms want, and sends him off after they encounter the Horizon. And then we have a firm separation of the A plots and B plots from this point forward.
Well, hold on. There's a couple other things. This Trip scene was great. Trip being an engineer and someone to appreciate the vintage stuff.
Oh yeah. That was good. That little note of like, I just want to see it because like Zephyr
want-
Cochrane signed the inside of the warp.
How fucking cool is that?
Yeah.
The J series that Zephyr Cochrane designed that engine, and he was initialing the inside of the fucking warp core casings. Amazing. And that's also very clearly Trip like understanding this guy's grieving over his dead father and trying to like not hey buddy him, but I think
Commiserate as a man would.
I'm gonna make a statement here that I think that Trip is the most emotionally intelligent person on the show. This is the Troy for this ship. This is the Chakotay. This is the guy that sees the hurt and tries to fix it. And they've paired that with DePaul usually. The other one, the Vulcan Cenobites, the pudgy Vulcan whose dad was a senator, same type deal. Like this is the shoulder that finds you to cry on it, I think.
I would liken him to Chakotay specifically, in that like he's not like a professional, but he's the most real guy.
And he throws a hell of a right hook.
Laid Travis right the fuck out. And
Travis, Reptile.
Yeah,
Dobie's better find. But Dobie better hope. Grandpa Dobie better never be around this guy. Great Grandpa Dobie. He might catch one across the mouth too.
But yeah, I like that they gave him pictures. Like, your mom's gonna want these.
Also, there's a picture of my dick there in case she wants that.
Travis doesn't go for moms. He goes for aliens. We know that.
Well, it's not about what Travis goes for. It's what goes for
Or,
Travis.
well, I'm sorry, I meant to say Trip. Trip doesn't go for moms. Trip goes for aliens.
Hmm.
But
I hope Travis isn't trying to
I
fuck
was going
his
to
mom.
say, I went to a terrible place on accident there, and that's staying in. I'll own that one. The rest of the internet's going to see me fuck that up. So Travis gets to the horizon and starts his plot, and then the rest of the B plot happens. You want to talk about the B plot now and get it out of the way?
Let's wind it back.
Okay.
Travis is happy that he's going to get to go hang out with his family, and then we're going to bring in this kind of messy B plot. We're going to call the C plot the science mission. The B plot is there's going to be a movie night, and this is a continuation of the last
Catwalk.
time Catwalk, which was the beginning of T'Pol coming out of her shell and starting to fraternize with the crew. But it's been a while, so she's walked that back a little bit. We're going to be in this long mission. It's going to be kind of uneventful. We're running movie night every night. You're going to love it. We're watching all these movies straight out of the Universal Studios, Paramount, allowed discussion points.
In the public sphere, like no longer copyrighted or something. It's all going to be old stuff because that way we can show it and not have to pay royalties, and it's going to be Frankenstein. And I did like that they seem to be dialing in at this point that it is Trip and T'Pol that has to be your pairing, right?
That's what you would think until they get muddy deeper in this plot, and all of a sudden Archer's the date.
It feels like Archer came in to like just further convince her to go.
Yes.
So that there could be more flirting between T'Pol and Trip. Like they see that would seem to be a real. This episode is a real handoff of the idea of clearly T'Pol and Archer are not going to be our couple, but Trip and Archer or Trip and Archer. That's another one. Trip and T'Pol need to be the pairing, and it starts with him trying to get her to go, and it's getting a little bit more than camaraderie. It's becoming very flirtatious, particularly on Trip's part. And T'Pol's like her eyes kind of get big, and her like caution around that of like, oh God, no. Like, please don't flirt with me. But it's not maybe she likes it, and she doesn't really want to confront that right now. It's hard to know, but this is it. This is where it finally begins.
I could nitpick and say, they should have been further along with that, but they haven't necessarily touched it recently, and I think this is a good place to remind the audience this is going to be a thing. So
yeah, it was just enough too. It wasn't too much. They didn't go too far. It was just Trip is clearly flirting with T'Pol in the way that he likes to flirt, which is like being a little contentious and sarcastic, and but at the same time
book
engaging.
Nerd, and we should start a book club, and then he shits on that.
But he's
the
like,
first time I ever heard a Star Trek character shit on books, but okay.
It's especially because Frankenstein is a classic example of how different the film is from the book. And like T'Pol's point is extremely well founded, and that the novel is actually a great deal more interesting philosophically for an elevated people than the movie. And then Trip just shits all over it because he's from Florida.
So
Doesn't read there. There's no reading in Florida. They're not literate people.
They got plenty of roller coasters. You don't need books. I don't know who the conversation's between, but Reed's one of the parts, and maybe Trip's the other one. They're discussing the life on the horizon.
Oh yeah, that was right before Travis goes to the horizon. It was him and Reed being like, I'm glad there's no families here. I'd need a counselor on board. Very clear, like, reference to TNG.
Yeah. I liked
and
it a lot.
It did reflect that Reed is distant from his family, right? Like,
yeah,
we know that too.
It's been 10 years since there's been a family reunion, and what was Mayweather saying it's been 4 years since he's seen his, or maybe a little less.
Yeah, 4 years.
So yeah, it's good reinforcement on Reed, but I enjoyed the laugh at early 24th, TNG season 1 through 6, basically the pre-Borg fucking Dominion War where they're like, hey, no more families on ships. And also,
That was a terrible idea. Enterprise E, no families,
mm-hmm,
just fucking with quantum torpedoes.
mm-hmm, and really
Uh,
good holodecks.
so the movie night stuff goes down. They get her to go. She gets into it a little bit. She even has popcorn and tells Phlox to shut the fuck up.
Popcorn and bowls. No more eating out of glass pans, glass
They've learned
bakeware
to
dish.
get a bowl. It was
Mm-hmm.
nice. And they have dinner, and she's relating Frankenstein to being a Vulcan and having to deal with humans, and that's the joke, right? Like that's what they're setting up, and it's really just let's plant a seed that Trip is flirting with T'Pol, and T'Pol is not is aware of this, at least in her expression and her hesitance, and this is something that'll develop again later.
Nice example of a complementary B plot that is not fighting the A plot and does not stick out like a sore thumb, similar to the AIDS episode.
Or the episode where the ship is being invaded by butt demons and they're trying to find out what Reed's favorite cake is.
Yeah. So good job calibrating your A plot to your B plot, Mr. Baranis. You're on a great track there.
Well, let's get back to the good stuff. And that is our plot on the Horizon,
So
which is a redressed Enterprise, apparently, and they did a great job with the aesthetics on this ship. It's my favorite part of the fucking episode. It looks like an old, worn out space truck.
yeah, it looks like a beat up old Porta-John without being like haunted housey.
It kind of felt like almost like it looked like Battlestar Galactica.
I
It had a similar vibe with like the worn out like panels that had like warnings on it, but it's like that was 25 years ago, and like the sort of dirtied metal everywhere, and you got guys just like randomly working on lights that are going out, because
Mhm.
it's old and
It's business.
been
They don't
lived
got
in.
money to spend on brand new parts. You got to reuse the old stuff, and that means it's going to break more frequently, and you're going to have people doing frequent repairs. We come into a walk and talk. It's Mayweather talking to his mom, who is a chief engineer and also the head medical officer, and she's giving us some continuity. They're talking about some of the shit that Mayweather's gone through. They talk about what they talk about. Catwalk, right? That comes up a few times that they
It
had to hide up
does.
in the cells. There's some other shit. I was really hoping, like, what's this I heard about? You got abducted by Ascension truck stop and they were stealing all your brain grease.
I was hoping that would be a running gag of like, I heard about this. I heard about this. They did actually bring up the Romulan minefield, so she could have known about the brain grease,
Mm-hmm.
But they do walk and talk with Travis's mom, who we mentioned already is.
God, what if they would have brought up the first Trucker Justice episode and criticized him for getting involved and saying that, you should have wiped those fucking Nausicaans out? That would have been some good flack for someone to throw at him.
I like that this is more of a family vessel though. Like that was like a bunch of you know living on the edge sort of outlaw guys. This has been a tighter run ship because it's a family affair and everyone's very tight here, and it's more collegial. And you get that because the mom is super good at being a mom, up to and including finding her son's old things and putting it in his room when he comes home, which is total mom fucking move. And trying to like you just want to stay close to him, like all my boys home. They do that. They demonstrate Travis is well liked by the other crew members. He meets a guy in the hall, like, hey Travis, good to see you, bud. Come to the mess hall, let's hang out, let's get a beer. Like that sort of. He was a guy that everyone liked on the ship. We even get one of his childhood friends. Like shows up to his quarters and like relates and tells them things that's been going on. So he was a
Very
clear.
clean looking for a space trucker, by the way, I might add.
Very, well, yes, everyone is still Hollywood here. And you get more of the aesthetic, which is like these are guys in kind of just normal civilian gear, and the guys who are officers, or maybe they got like a nice collared shirt on and a belt, but that's as far as it goes. And
They got forklifts. They're doing business. That fucking forklift, those side loads. Uh, I've had to work around those. Those are miserable, and I'm sure whatever guy they had operating that, That'd be interesting. Was that an actor, or did they just get a crew guy and be like, here? How would Hollywood handle that?
Oh, I mean, with the unions, you got to know that guy's got a forklift operating license, and he probably gets like scale pay for the day because he was on
So
camera.
would he have to be in SAG to be in there, or
No, because
is
he
this
didn't
guy?
talk. He's not doesn't have to be in SAG. He did not have a
Hmm.
line.
That'd be a smart way to get into Hollywood. Be like, I have all these for real blue collar skills, and I'm gonna be in SAG, and like I'm an actor. But that's how I sell myself. I was like, yeah, I'm OSHA certified on this stuff. Sure, yeah.
Jeremy Boring, who's the guy who co-owns the Daily Wire with Ben Shapiro, got his SAG card because when he was on a movie production, he was the only one who could ad lib an entire prayer because he was Christian and no one else was. That's how he got into SAG. Is that he was an extra, and they like had this whole thing, and they didn't have someone to do it, and they didn't have it written, and he volunteered and said, "This is what I would do," and they're like, Taft Hartley him into SAG immediately and put him on camera.
Hmm.
Made his whole career. And the movie didn't even get finished. So you never know. There could be a grift there for someone to take advantage of, and probably someone has. It is LA. But in that scene, though, is when we meet Mayweather's brother, Paul, who is, I guess, the antagonist of the episode. Kind of, really.
Yeah, it's an interesting ship. You definitely have this family component. It was Mayweather's father that was the captain. He was supposed to succeed him. He went off to Starfleet instead. And instead of the mom, they wanted the next generation. So Paul. So there is this family there. But then, as you said, there's all these other people. I'd be very interested in knowing what the crew complement of the Horizon is realistically supposed to be. Because it seems like there's dozens.
Yeah, it seemed like there was quite a few people on the ship. I'm going to check the memory alpha to see if it actually says ECS Horizon. Still nothing. Memory beta even let us down. So it doesn't say. It doesn't say.
So you've got this feudal system of inheritance. Are the rest of the people there presumed to be paid? Maybe Mayweather did own it. Again, the whole how do I get a spaceship following the Vulcan arrival and man's ascent into space? Nobody could afford that. It'd have to be this Earth's cargo authority. So maybe they're on charter that, I don't. It's interesting.
Yeah, they don't
Obviously,
flesh that out, and I wish they had of like how this is supposed to work and if it's ownership because this is before the post scarcity economy, right? Like
sure.
there are
Before
no
replicators.
replicators. Maybe ownership is still a thing. Maybe that is why Paul is the captain because it is an inherited asset.
So one of the things we're going to find out is that Paul's not exactly growing into his role as smoothly as people would like. Mayweather's mom doesn't bring it up, but some of his childhood friends, intonate that the crew's been on edge. Things are not running according to schedule. Some of that's because the abrupt means or way that his dad died, and he didn't have a traditional manifest, so they're just missing cargoes. They're missing meeting and arrivals, and it's getting bad. And Earth Cargo Authority is starting to take note. So everybody's on edge.
So Travis first starts by trying to be a helpy McHelperson and just try and do some upgrades to like the thrusters so the place runs a little bit more smoother. It's a smoother ride. He's trying to apply some of the things he's learned in Starfleet to tighten the screws on the Horizon, and Paul is very resistant to that to the point where he tells Travis to stop helping and is very it's where they build the tension that he is resentful. He's representing the resentment that Travis thought his father had about him leaving, right? Like this is the reception he expected to receive from his dad. He found out from Archer his dad actually encouraged and enabled him to join Starfleet, and now it is his younger brother that is really representing that spot and doesn't want his Starfleet assistance in operating the ship. And that goes back to our first episode with the Boomers, where they were also resistant to help from Starfleet and not really liking the organization. And this ultimately leads to more very interesting detail about the follow on effects of Starfleet's existence, particularly in finding crew members that would be willing to work for the Cargo Authority, which I thought was very interesting.
Very interesting. And the line there is this is kind of when they start things start boiling over, and Paul real talks him a little bit and says, you and your precious Starfleet, nobody wants to run freight. They want to go off and explore the galaxy with their personal chef. And it's true. Archer had been considering getting into space by being a space trucker. Starfleet gets founded, and now you've got this much more well-funded, exciting, cleaner, more prestigious life. Like, yeah, that's exactly things that they were beating around the bush on back in Trucker Justice.
I mean, you think about if you are in the just having invented warp drive, Earth getting its shit together period before Starfleet's invented. If you're interested in space travel, if you're interested in exploring the galaxy, being a space trucker was your only option, right? Like that's it. It's just commerce is the real way to get in there. We're not exploring, right? And so if you want to go do things, you either be a colonist or a trucker. And if you're a colonist, you're stuck on whatever planet you went to, so you be a trucker. And that meant that everyone that had that desire to like, I want to go see the galaxy, that sounds awesome, really had one place to go. And that meant you got to pick from a lot of good talent of people who had that impulse. Well, now you can actually for real join an organization that's devoted entirely just to exploration, and you don't have to go on a slow ship between places that everyone's been to already, slinging deuterium or whatever it the fuck is that you're shipping from one place to another. And that novelty of that travel is no longer going to drive people towards being there. And Travis is the last of a breed of people who are going to be useful because of that experience, right? Like he's good right now, but in 10 years, you're not going to need old space truckers to help you in your first steps into a larger world.
Take it a step further, too. All the space truckers used to be wide-eyed dreamers that wanted to get up in the stars and do cool shit. And they jumped early, and here they are on their 20-year-old spaceship that's falling apart, and you're getting picked on by pirates and everything else. And now you see Starfleet come around, and they got shiny brand new ships with cool laser guns and clean uniforms, and they're, going out and doing things that no one else has ever done before, seeking out new life and new civilizations. And there you are, stuck on your rust bucket. I'd be butthurt about it. If I was Paul, I'd be like, well, fuck, man, maybe I wanted to join goddamn Starfleet, and because you ran off, now I'm stuck here because we both can't go to Starfleet.
Yeah, because someone had to take the ship.
That's what's missing in this episode
Yeah.
for me, is that the conflict is never really fleshed out personally, and as a result, there's no real growth, and there's no new real resolution. Like, did Paul want to be the captain? I'm guessing not. Like, there needed to be like, I never wanted this life. This never should. I should have been fucking Prince Harry off banging movie stars and embarrassing the family. Instead, you joined the fucking Marines, and now I'm doing all this shit that I was never prepared for. Fuck you. You've ruined my life.
Yeah, I could have used a little bit of tension. Like Paul seemed to be really mad despite being given, the praxis over the vessel. And I felt like just that kind of like generic approach wasn't quite right. I agree with you that a personal grievance was necessary here to say, you leaving left me holding the bag. And maybe it was even I my entire life, as they look like they're close in age, I expected that we would do it together. Like you and me, brothers making the dream work together in space. And you left me alone to inherit this responsibility, and then dad just up and died and you weren't here. Like that, you just a little bit of that, just we were supposed to be doing this as a team. Now I'm by
Sacrifice the
myself.
whole B plot and give me this.
Yeah.
And I get that's a dangerous bridge to walk down, and saying, hey, we've got, again, a very compelling character in Travis Mayweather. Our actor portraying it is not the best, and maybe the light that we've cast this character in, instead of being like grizzly old,
Chief of the
sailor
boat.
chief of the
Yeah.
boat type guy, we went with this guy who seems a little too clean cut and a little too bright eyed or whatever. But this would have been a great component to take Mayweather as he exists and really take him to the next level. But yeah, hey, last time we had Mayweather on for a feature episode, people 20 years in the future laughed and shit all over it. We can't commit another full episode to this guy because we don't know how that's going to work out. But I absolutely agree. And I think that could have given Mayweather a lot more depth. A lot of cool stuff could have happened. It's good as it stands. It could have been way better. Things are not great on the ship. Uh, these repairs that he's doing are trying to improve the quality of life. Paul, I think, makes a very valid argument. Says, listen, leave the fucking ship alone. You might have advanced knowledge and training that your space fleet buddies are showing you. You're not around to fix this stuff. We're fucked, and that's a big concern that we've seen in Boomer life. Is that you are all you have. There's no rescue vessels waiting to help. So yeah, living outside your means, it's a dangerous proposition, and that's going to tie into the real threat they face, and that is space pirates.
Yes, good old space pirates. They decided to roll up, tag them, so that the mothership could come by later. Travis's training has come in handy, and then he's able to identify a dicobalt device, a clear antecedent to the precious
Yeah.
tricobalt devices of Voyager, and that it is a beacon for a big old super pirate ship to show up and take all their shit.
Which has happened before to the USS
The
what
ECS Constellation.
Constellation? No relation to the Enterprise. Uh, so in that case, the pirates found them, demanded that they surrender all their cargo, and basically bullied them out. So the space bullying thing, and again, back to Trucker Justice, whatever the hell that one was called, was Nausicaans. Same type of deal, right? You're trying to schlep shit back and forth. There's a bunch of aliens out there that aren't too happy about the new kids on the block. You got busted ass old 20-year-old plasma cannons or whatever. We don't have those new spangled phasers. So we got to play it safe. And I did like that Paul is conservative, and I don't want to say a pussy, but he plays it safe. It
Right.
would have been very easy for him just to be a fucking lunatic that Travis would have to walk in. It's rare in this type of a dynamic where the prodigal son returns that the son who stayed plays it too safe.
And it's also, I think, they took a right line here, which is Travis didn't have to save the day entirely. He's proven right. He offers to upgrade the weapons. That's where the conflict comes in, where he lays down you're taking all the good talent and you're leaving us out high and dry conversation, and comes up with a plan of like, this is how we can defend ourselves. And ultimately, they use that plan when they come back. Instead of just wanting the cargo, they want the whole ship. Paul says no, but then as soon as like the stakes are known, he goes, "All right, let's fight. Let's do it." Hop
I'm
into
sorry,
the
what were you
chair.
saying about you patch the fucking guns into the warp drive?
Yeah, let's
You can
fucking
make
go, boys.
flamethrowers. You can make Tesla coils out of Red Alert too.
Detach the cable. We are fighting, and Paul makes the right choice to embrace Travis's expertise in precisely the way that he can implement it, which is through his know-how to make their weapons better, and then through driving the ship, which proves he's a good captain because he realized the correct decision to make and then made that decision happen, which is like, good. You didn't beclown the guy. You didn't set it up that like Travis had to like captain the ship and prove that he was better and then like gave it to him anyway. No. Paul proved himself. He made the right call, shifted gears, fought him off, told him to fuck off after they blew up their weapons, and then was like, all right, let's get going. Like, good. He proved himself up to the task.
I could have gone for a really dark moment where they disabled the aliens and like, all right, here's the comms, instead of being like, think twice next time. It's like, you fucked with the wrong ship. Shoot them while they're down. Kill them all. Genocide them. And then Travis like, oh shit, what are you evil? The fuck?
Too many renegade options in my Mass Effect playthrough.
Paul blows him up and then puts on his new coat and has a standing collar and he's got jack boots. And he's like, oh fuck, you're a space Nazi. My own brother. Damn. It comes up several times, and I'm not a space mathematician. Maybe Jack or one of those other
Taryn, maybe.
Karen.
Yeah.
Like I don't know how impulse works. Like the idea of we can't hit, or warp specifically, like, we can't hit warp 2 because our cargo's too heavy. I'm like, is that how a warp field works? Does mass really come into play on, because you're not really propelling your, are you folding space in warp, or are you moving yourself?
I think we're asking Taryn to give us a 15-minute monologue, but I'm down. I'm
Does
ready. I'm ready to be educated on this.
does jettisoning car and again, we're over here arguing, is the fucking hole on the top of the ship a hole that people can go through, right? We're over here asking, like, well, in your warp theory, does your mass have any? I can tell you in Mass Effect it doesn't. They did a good job. Fucking Ezo explains
I think it's supposed to, because I think there is a consistent line through Star Trek that large ships have difficulty going higher warp and stabilizing a stable warp field to go at the higher warp speeds.
Mm,
So I think that it does, but I'm happy and actually looking forward to one of our fans, and we know all the ones that might take us up on it. We're calling Taryn out because of the Fairhaven episode, but there's a number of potential takers here, and I'm looking forward to seeing which
I'm
one
gonna
goes
have
for it.
my 2x playback ready.
If there's a video or
Yeah,
audio version,
yeah.
I am pledging my time to it. I might go at 1.5 speed though.
Kind of finishing up on the Mayweather line. I I don't buy the conversation that he has with her mom. I I don't know any mom out there who'd be like, "Oh, son, I'm happy to have you." No, it's good to see you again, but you should not come back. Clearly, we should
Yeah.
keep your inferior brother in charge of everybody's life. Like,
If my mom is any indication, the thought of moving back to the same city that she lives in is something she would be overjoyed to hear.
yeah,
Like, yeah, yes, come back. You're my
maybe
child. I would like you to be around.
while they were hiding in the warp core for what, 6 weeks,
And where he
maybe
got his brain
maybe that mixed her up a
irradiated.
little bit too. And where another mom would be like, "Oh, honey, yes, I would love if you come back." No, don't come back. Stay in Starfleet. Go get abducted by space spider people and cocooned. Get your brain greases sucked out by that evil truck stop.
Yeah, especially a mom who's aware of the space hazards her son has been
The
like, yes, please
frequent.
stay away from those fucking psychos in Starfleet that send you into danger after danger.
Mhm.
But I
Klingon?
mean, I liked the line of like, it they was used to prove of, that Travis's dad was took over the ship at a young age and he struggled, and it opened the door for Travis to like accept Paul's leadership and for Paul to demonstrate his capability. That part worked, but yeah. The mom part maybe not so much.
Good CGI.
Yeah. The battle
Uh,
sequence was good.
they went fancy on it, and between that and the sweet spot, 2 servings of 0G, pretty cool. Jumping back over to, well, just to finish up the Mayweather. Finally, they get back. I don't get it because like there's a conversation. It's like Marauders. Like, hey, here's all the rest of the stuff, our space farm juice. You can have it all. Cool. Well, we're gonna leave in a shuttlecraft and not bother to pick it up. And this one, Mayweather's like, listen, man, you sure you don't want some Starfleet help? Because that was going back to Space Trucker Justice. We don't want your help, even though we very clearly need it. Finally, his brother relents and he's like, yeah, cool. And also, Trip wants to come over and see the ship. Uh oh, we're out of time. You know what? Fuck you. We're out. We're not touching any of this stuff. You're not getting any help. We're not repairing anything. And also to the point where Archer's like, hey, it looks like your ship got fucked up and you guys got attacked. Is everything okay? Like, we're military. Like, part of what we're doing out here, I think, is supposed to be like fending space pirates away. Nah, everything's fine.
No, that made perfect sense to me. You know why? Travis is not a snitch. Travis is not a snitch.
What did
He knows that his people want to take care of shit. He's gone through 2 space trucker episodes where the space truckers just want to handle their own shit and have Starfleet stay out of it. He's learned.
go
And
back to
so he's
Marauders?
like, you know what? Nah, it's all good. You
Go,
know?
go back to Marauders. You know what, Captain? There's one thing you showed me. It's that you can slightly embarrass uh, a superior military foe, and that they will take the L, be cool with it, and then leave you alone forever and ever. That's what you taught me, Cap. I'm sure my family's fine. These dudes, who, by the way, the help that Trip, or I'm sorry, that Mayweather was going to get Trip to help with, was pulling the fucking explosive homing beacon off.
Oh, that's
This
true.
is
Yeah.
an insane ending. What's going on here? You've got a fucking bomb that is a dog leash being held
Oh, you're
by
right. You're right.
murderers,
That would have.
and your mom's on the ship. Your
Okay.
fucking
Yeah.
mom might be hunted down, literally hunted down and fucking killed. No, Cap, everything's fine.
Okay, you have a good point about the bomb. The bomb is still on the ship. They even talk about how the bomb is
Not
still
just
on the
bomb,
ship.
the homing beacon, and
Yeah.
also a bomb.
And then
That
say
other
like, "Yeah, I'm sure Reed will take it off for you," and then they just fucking punt on it. You're right. That is a bit much.
Oh, alien
I liked Travis not being a snitch, but that is a little too far.
alien pirate captain. That sucks. They blew our engines up. You want to hunt them down and fuck them up and enslave everybody? Nah, you know what? Just set that bomb off. Fuck those guys. Just blow those motherfuckers up. They beat our ass the last time. We learned a lesson. I'm a smart evil captain. Just blow them up.
Like the one from Catwalk.
Yeah, only
Really
this guy's
smart.
got a goddamn bomb on their warp nacelle. Flip back over to the movie night thing. There was some cool. Don't want to call it cool. There was some interesting, very clearly EMH related, like I'm Phlox, and I'm talking about Frankenstein, and it's interesting. And there's alien species out there already doing reanimation. After death, resuscitation is clearly a thing. We're sticking to it, and by the 24th century, holograms are going to be people bringing people back to life at the drop of a hat. Here's
Federation standard post-mortem revival protocols. That is a lot. That is a direct quote.
Frankensteining for short.
Well, what Frankenstein of an episode are we watching next week?
We're going to move into Season 2, Episode 21, The Breach. Here's a dude, and he's wearing his, standard lazy fucking wool outfit. This is a Chris Black and Job Sieben. Dan McCarthy. Uh-oh. Robert Duncan McNeil coming in. While Enterprise rescues 3 Denoblian scientists from a planet now under a xenophobic government, Dr. Phlox must treat a patient with racist views against his people.
This one is as you can expect, Phlox-oriented episode and gives a ton of Denoblian background.
Good. Last time we got it, I liked what I saw.
So we'll see how you take this one, my friend. And thank you so much to everyone for listening to another episode of Eat Your Please. And we will see you next